Welcome to the SHIELD database. Please enter your access code. Welcome, Agent. The Marvel Multiverse is rich in variety. Each universe has its own Earth, and each Earth in turn is home to a variation of Daredevil. Though many of these men are almost identical to the Prime Man Murdock of whom we are familiar with and have only very slight differences, others are a vast deviation from the Man Without Fear of Earth 616. While some Earths which are home to simian superheroes or vampiric vigilantes, the multiverse can also be much less fantastical, with some universes containing no superpowered beings at all. The Murdochs of these worlds are equally varied and range from moral bastions to truly villainous men. Their abilities can be exceptional or non-existent, and often these men have died protecting their worlds from both exterior and interior threats. Here are 10 Daredevils from across the multiverse. In this reality, Matt Murdock's life was much the same up until the day in which he tried to save Hugo Nachios from assassins. Though in the Prime reality, Daredevil failed and Hugo died, in this reality he saved the man but was killed in the process. His body was stolen and he was revived as an unquestioning and obedient soldier of the Hand. He would not stay in this role long, however, as his skill was such that he rose through the ranks in a short time and eventually became their leader. He went on to kill Bullseye, the Kingpin, and his mentor Stick, after which Elektra reformed the Chaste and acted as their leader. Nick Fury had also noticed the danger Matt had become, and eventually the Chaste and S.H.I.E.L.D. launched a coordinated offensive on the Hand together. The group could not hold up to the combined might of their enemies and succumb, with Elektra lending the killing blow to Matt herself. The noir universe gets its name from the pulp fiction and film noir atmosphere that pervades the world around its heroes. The Matt Murdock of this world exists in the 1930s and is scraping a living after failing at his dream of becoming a lawyer due to his impoverished lifestyle. He was the son of a boxer who was assassinated for refusing to lose a fight. The assassin also slammed a young Matt's head against a wall, blinding him. He worked as a performer before becoming an assistant to a private investigator called Foggy Nelson. Not a great deal more is known about him other than he was able to take down the Bullseye killer, who it turned out was the woman he loved, Eliza. He may also be responsible for putting a stop to Wilson Fisk, although if he was truly successful in this is unclear. In the year 2099 of this world, Samuel Fisk, the grandson of Wilson Fisk, has taken on the identity of Daredevil. As a child, Samuel was regaled with stories about Daredevil by his grandfather, who spoke with immense pride about how he had managed to kill the Man Without Fear. This sickened Sam, and many years later, after inheriting all of his grandfather's legitimate and illegitimate endeavors, Sam had enough of a fortune to commission a specialized suit which granted him all of the skill of the original Daredevil, with none of the training. With this suit he began attempting to redeem his family by fighting against crime in hopes of undoing all of the pain his grandfather had caused. When all was said and done, however, Samuel was still a Fisk and was much more willing to give in to his darker urges than his predecessor, and it isn't long before Sam is murdering his rivals, regardless of their innocence or criminality. In this reality, the mutant known as Apocalypse took over and ruled America. As a young boy, Matt was put to work on what was known as Apocalypse Island, and it was here that he was blinded with toxic chemicals. He joined Mikhail Rasputin's Upstart program, where he was given a cybernetic enhancement in the form of a specialized visor which allowed him to see in infrared. The chemicals had also endowed him with enhanced senses, however he believed these abilities also stemmed from Rasputin, and so he pledged his undying loyalty to the man. Eventually, however, Matt realized Rasputin's true goal of enslaving what little remained of humanity in a now mutant-dominated world, and he denounced his leader, and tore his visor from his face. After realizing that his senses were still intact, Murdoch broke down with the weight of everything he had done under what he now knew was an evil man who had been manipulating him for years. Earth 40,081 has no superhumans, and the heroes of the world are simply people who try every day to do something good and just. Matthew Murdoch is an example of this. In this world he is a defense lawyer and is married to a, still alive, Karen Page. After Leland Owlsley was murdered, Frank Castle was arrested and Matt was given his case. Matt worked tirelessly to prove that Frank was innocent of the murder, and in fact the real killer was Wilson Fisk. He presented the court with photographs of one of Fisk's employees coercing a false confession from Frank in the guise of a police officer. Frank was then released, however Fisk had lost his sacrificial lamb and so had Matt killed. Frank later avenged Matt by killing Fisk, setting himself on the path to becoming this world's Punisher. The Matt of this world was not afraid to fight for what was right and take on villainous men despite having no way of defending himself. His death was seemingly inevitable, but this was not enough to sway him from his morality. This Matthew Murdoch operates in the year 1602 and is a blind Irish bard. Unbeknownst to most, however, he is secretly an adventurer for hire and has greatly heightened senses. As a boy, Matthew ventured into some caves wherein he found a green luminescent substance which he tasted without a second thought. He then went deeper into the cave where it became so dark that he could no longer see. However, upon making his way back outside, he found that despite it being daytime, he could still see nothing but blackness. His other senses, however, began to overcompensate, and he too found that he was able to use them to become a very capable adventurer and warrior. He was hired by Sir Nicholas Fury to protect a man named Donal from Count Otto von Doom, eventually discovering that the man was in fact a god. After the multiverse was destroyed by the incursions, a single world was created from what little remained. This combination of millions of universes which formed a single planet was the Bard's new home for a while before ultimately the multiverse was restored. Daredevil is another successor to Matt Murdoch and is known as Riley Tyne, the son of Ben Riley. He inherited his father's spider-based abilities as well as his cellular degeneration. When Ben Riley's brother Kane found him, he placed him in a chamber to try and stop the degeneration. Daredevil then came to Kane's defense as he was being attacked but was mortally wounded. Kane then summoned a demon to try and save Daredevil, but instead the demon along with Daredevil's soul entered Riley. The presence of the demon halted the degeneration, and the presence of Daredevil's soul gave Riley access to his skill. Riley then went to law school and eventually got a job working at Matt's old firm. As well as this, he created a costume inspired by the man whose soul inhabited his body and took on the identity of Dark Devil, which he used to fight against supervillains, often with his ally Spider-Girl. The Daredevil of Earth 9997 is a successor to the deceased Matt Murdoch, however nothing else is known about him. Many have attempted to figure out who is behind the mask, however no one has yet succeeded. As such, his origins are also debatable, however it is most likely that he received his abilities from the Terrigen Mists. This Daredevil's powers are entirely different from the originals as he possesses immortality. He has made it no secret that his greatest wish in the world is to die, but he is simply unable. Upon gaining his powers, he started a circus in which people came from far and wide to view the mysterious man performing death-defying stunts such as doing a motorcycle jump whilst on fire and being impaled upon landing. His curse made him valuable in the superhuman conflicts that followed, however he frequently spoke of how he envied his fallen allies. When eventually confronted with a being named Jude, who was the physical embodiment of death, however, Daredevil proved that his words were hollow as he ran from the being in fear, effectively ruining his only chance to truly die and condemning himself to live until the end of time. In the Ultimate Universe, Matt Murdock lived a similar life to his Prime counterpart. He met and fell in love with Elektra Natchios, but their relationship fell apart after Elektra attempted to kill a man who had raped her friend and Matt saved his life. When Bullseye had Elektra's father framed for murder, she began working for the Kingpin in order to secure his release from prison. Now blaming Fisk for Elektra selling her soul, he made it his life's mission to take him down and formed a team known as the Knights, consisting of Spider-Man, Iron Fist, Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange and himself. They eventually succeeded and the Kingpin was arrested. However, soon after, the supervillain Magneto unleashed a huge tidal wave upon New York which killed millions. Daredevil's body was later found by Spider-Man, and his mentor Stick ensured that his legacy would live on by recruiting a successor in the form of Ray Connor. The man who would become Daredevil in the MCU had a much similar life to his Prime counterpart. He was blinded as a child and given various abilities. He was trained by Stick to fight the Hand. His father was killed after refusing to throw a fight, and he met Elektra Natchios and Foggy Nelson in college before going on to start his own law firm and become Daredevil. This version of Matt, however, has only been active as Daredevil for a few years, but in that time he has managed to topple Wilson Fisk's criminal empire, obtain the Punisher for the police and, with the help of his super-powered allies, destroy the Hand for good. This arguably makes him a more effective vigilante than his Prime counterpart. However, none of this came without cost, as people he has cared about have died under his watch, including his friend Ben Urich and the woman he loved in Elektra. He has also been presumed dead himself after allowing an entire skyscraper to collapse on top of him. The fact that he was able to survive, however, is indicative of not only his toughness but his tenacity.